Yeah.
Hello there. We are here with Jeremy Hersh, which is the director of the Surrogate, which is included in our feature film competition. It's a first work, feature film. And so congratulations for your wonderful film. And of course, since it's in competition, good luck for the competition.
Thank you so
So,
much. This is such an honor to be in the festival, and yeah, I'm really excited.
wow, thank you. I would like to start with a little overview of your career. Although it's your first feature film, you have done shorts in the past. So I wanted to, to know if you've already dealt with LGBT themes in your films, and or if you will continue this narrative line in the future for your next projects.
Yeah, so the two shorts that I've made before, they're both about female couples. And yeah, this film, the feature is about the relationship between a straight woman and a male couple. So the protagonist in this is not queer, but I still think of it as a queer film, and I'm glad that you do as well. And yeah, that definitely is, um, you know, I don't really envision myself making something that doesn't have some um, element of a queer character in it. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what my next feature is going to be, but I have a number of different ideas that are sort of brewing, and they do all have some queer element in them. Yeah, and it's just I believe in writing about what I know about.
Yeah, sure. In fact, I mean, your film deals with, as you said before, with a gay couple and their best friend with a black surrogate mother, and they are faced by a moral dilemma. And I wanted to know what is the genesis of the idea of the film, and why did you choose as the main characters of your film three people who are actually working in the this like middle high class Manhattan creative people, so something like that.
Yeah. Um, well, for a long time, I've wanted to make something that was sort of my take on the trope that to me is sort of a modern classic trope of relationships between straight women and gay men, and they're often portrayed in this very sort of idealized way that feels somewhat one-dimensional to me. So I've always wanted to do sort of my version of that that's a little bit more realistic and a little bit darker. Um, and then yeah, I'm always interested in well, I started to notice that in America there's these bills and these laws that started to be put forth that were sort of pitting two communities against each other. So basically, anti-abortion people were using and continue to use um, the communities of people with disabilities and their families as a way to sort of say, this is why we should restrict access to abortion. And it's just, it's a great example of how, um, the those that are in societal power can use sort of two different groups that are disempowered to sort of put them in conflict or frame it as if they're in conflict as a way of sort of maintaining that power structure. Because, in my experience in general, people who are in the community of people with disabilities and their loved ones, what they'll say is, people who say, you know, um, basically that what they'll say is that the people who are saying this fetus deserves rights are the same people who are fighting against their actual disabled children getting you know being cared for once they're born. But it just wasn't, it was, you know, two causes like that I'm passionate about. Um, on the one, yeah, the fact that I do think that people with disabilities don't have enough respect in America or in general. And on the other hand, that, yeah, that I am passionate about, you know, uh, a woman's right to choose and access to abortion being unmitigated. So it sort of started from there, and it just, and then I was researching surrogacy and sort of interested in how, you know, power dynamics play out there, and yeah, it all came from there. But yeah, the story itself is totally fiction, but it's based on a lot of different you know, stories that I've discovered in research.
Okay, in fact, one thing that I wanted to know is that you have talked in some way about it. Is there a sort of autobiographical line in the story itself?
Do you mean the when the guy says the thing about his ancestry?
No, no, no. I mean something related to your will or your thoughts on you know, parenthood or relationship with these kind of issues.
Oh, so yeah, you're asking it, like to what extent it's autobiographical?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's not. I mean, there's a lot of me in Jess, the main character, yeah, the when the character Josh is talking about his ancestry being, you know, people who were victims of uh, you know, eugenics, and he's talking about being a descendant of Holocaust survivors and Holocaust victims. That is true of me and my family. And in some ways, you know, both of the male characters are, you know, reflections of who I might be afraid of becoming at times. Um, but yeah, I would say, yeah, there's a lot of me in Jess, and there's a lot of me in all the characters. Oh, and I didn't answer your thing about the class thing earlier, and that partly came out of, well, when you look at surrogacy, and you know, people have said to me like, oh yeah, surrogacy is becoming really common among gay men, and the reality is it's becoming really common among the very very top in terms of wealth. It's not, it's still a pretty rare thing. And in general, that's because of how expensive it is. So that, you know, class, and in the case in the film, they're not paying for an agency. So it's not true really of them that it's an expensive thing for them. But class is just something that I wanted, that is a big part of the whole issue. And then also, you know, it's a big stereotype that that surrogates are, you know, just doing it for the money. So in the case of this character, I wanted to very much go against that sort of trope, and make it very clear, like, this is someone who comes from money, and she's not doing this for any kind of money reason. And then it sort of allows the story to be about, you know, her, what she's considering. It allows it to be about things that are, you know, besides that. Sorry, I know I'm pretty
Okay.
long-winded.
Here we are. So the other thing that I wanted to ask is, you know, how you have worked with the main character of the film. I mean, when you told them the story, when you contacted him, got in touch with them, how did they react? And did they help you in maybe writing or rewriting in some ways themselves or the story itself? Or were there some points even of I don't know, maybe difficulties in facing something which is still considered, unfortunately, to be a taboo in our society, such as you said before, disabilities or abortion. So, what was your relationship with the three of them?
Um, yeah, I always, you know, when I work with actors, am very interested in trying to give them as much control as possible, and really try to access their full intelligence. and these actors that were very incredibly smart people who, so I think that's an issue sometimes with directors, is by being dictatorial with their actors, they're actually missing out on what the actors can bring to the table. And it's not even, it's, you often don't have time really to say sort of, okay, now like what do you, when you're on set, what do you think or something. So you have to build it in to the scenes, basically, is my philosophy. So what I said to everyone really is that the text is a guideline, and and it's useful to have, but that anything that they wanted to change, or paraphrase, phrasing it differently, that they should do that, and not ask me beforehand. I'll tell them afterwards if I didn't like it, and in the, yeah, I mean, so that's just my general philosophy, and I feel like you save a lot of time, and often people will think that actors, when you let them improvise, that they're going to add a bunch of lines into the script, and most of the time, in my experience, it's the opposite. They actually will take my text and make it more concise, um, and I mean, especially with Jasmine, it was something where we cast her like a full year before we shot, and so we had a lot of time to talk, and for insights to get woven into the script. And then there were a number of scenes where on set, sort of the night before, the day before, we would talk through something and I would rewrite it. And yeah, she's a great writer herself, so that was really a huge asset to the film, was having her input. But no one was really afraid of any of the material. I think that those people sort of, any actor who would have been, just sort of didn't audition or didn't agree to be in the film.
Wow. So thank you for the answer. And the last thing I want to know is something more about your relationship to filmmaking and the narrative behind it. I mean, in this film, there is a huge moral dilemma, so it's really related to ethics. And I wanted to know if you consider yourself, even though this is a fiction film, not a documentary, but in some kind of way, kind of a militant filmmaker for certain issues, and maybe LGBT related ones.
Wait, you said militant?
Yeah, yeah, militant. Like,
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I want to provoke thought and start a conversation. And, certainly with this film, it took many years to get it produced and to make it. And whenever I doubt myself a lot, and I think it's a healthy thing for any artist to constantly be in a sort of state of doubt, because then you're constantly trying to improve the work and trying to get other insights in and trying to look at it from different ways. But it can also be something that, if you have so much doubt, it's something that obviously works against you. But whenever I was feeling that sort of self-defeating doubt, the thought I would have to myself is, even if this movie is shit, even if it doesn't turn out well, it still, I think, even like a bad version of it would still maybe cause people to do their own research about the topics. So that was that was like a calming thought to myself, was, no matter what it ends up being, it will, just by being out in the world, get people to think about the topics. So yeah, that is in general, yeah, I'm my my first goal above anything else, yeah, is um, to get people to, look at an issue from maybe a new way, no matter, what their initial thought was, to sort of just complicate that. Yeah, does that answer that?
Absolutely, and that is, I think, really the most one of the most important things in cinema. So it's really nice to hear.
And I uh, I think that, as a viewer of queer films myself, and I've, been to, I was sort of inspired to write this, I think, after visiting different queer film festivals. And I do think that in general, we have more queer representation in film and TV than ever. But a lot of it is uh, representation that's really, for a heterosexual audience, and it's overly, it's like, basically, I guess what I've said before is, I don't care about positive representation as much as I care about interesting representation. And that I definitely, always want to make queer characters that are complicated and flawed, because that's how they, are going to feel real, and how I can't relate to a character that doesn't have flaws.
Yeah, I mean, because it's life, so it's
Yeah.
important to follow life.
And for actors too, it's like that, it's not fun to play a character that's perfect.
Yeah.
And so it's like, we deserve to have the fun characters too.
Wow. So, Jeremy, I don't want to bore you anymore with our conversation, but I really thank you for your time. I really thank you for letting us bring your film to Milan in front of our audience. And really, I hope to meet you in the future at a festival mix, because
Yeah.
we want to see you here with us. And
I was also going to say, do you know that our cinematographer, she has an apartment in New York, and she also has an apartment in Abruzzo. So
I didn't remember about that.
yeah, there's, and definitely an Italian connection to our film. Yeah,
That is the reason why you have to come here for one of the next edition.
I know. Yeah, I can't wait.
So keep writing, keep shooting, and come here with us.
I will. Thank you so much.
So thank you for your time and good luck for the competition.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
This is
Bye.
great. Okay, bye. Have a good day. And let me know if you guys need anything, or, whatever. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No worry. And
Bye.
thank you for
Enjoy
your
the
time once
festival, and
again.
make sure you hydrate and get some sleep during the festival. Promise. Yeah.
Yeah, we will try to.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, 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 bye.